Hello, and welcome to the Performance Measures training for the BJA Performance Measurement Tool. Today, I want to get you acquainted with the Performance Measures reporting requirements, provide an overview of the PMT system, and address frequently asked questions. First, I will briefly go over the different types of performance measures in the PMT questionnaire. Then, I'll go over the PMT reporting schedule and the various reports that are generated in the PMT. Finally, I'll discuss the different features of the PMT and how to navigate the system. Let's get started. Let's go over some commonly used terms in the PMT, of which we'll frequently refer to throughout the remainder of today's session. The PMT uses specific terminology to refer to persons, organizations, and concepts. A grantee is the primary recipient of a federal award from BJA. This organization is the party who submits the application to BJA for federal funding. A grant or award is the funding given to grantees by BJA. A subrecipient or subgrantee is a secondary recipient of a federal award via the primary grantee. The project description is a description of the project that serves as the basis of the grant application. The project description details the purpose of the project and funding. A reporting period is the period of time in which BJA-funded activities were conducted and funds were expended and obligated. Reporting periods for the BJA PMT consist of a 3-month period, also called quarters. For example, Springfield Police Department receives a grant from BJA, making them a grantee. They use some of the money they receive from BJA to fund their project activities and use the remaining part of their grant to fund a local law enforcement organization. The local law enforcement organization is now considered a subrecipient of the Springfield Police Department. The outline of the BJA-funded activities that will be conducted by both the grantee and the subrecipient should be captured in the grantee's project description, which is detailed in the grant application. The data collected by the grantee and subrecipient should be reported for each quarterly reporting period that the grant is active. As mentioned in the earlier part of the training, the questions in the PMT are made up of 2 main categories. The first is the quantitative program performance measures. This is where you enter the numeric data you collected over the course of the reporting period. For example, how many dollars were spent on law enforcement equipment during this reporting period? The second section are the qualitative narrative questions. These questions are open-ended and do not require a numeric response. The narrative questions that are answered during the April through June and October through December reporting periods fall into this category. An example of this type of question could be, what type of equipment was purchased with BJA funding during this reporting period? Or, what challenges did you face in completing your program goals during this reporting period? Remember, these questions are meant to capture the full experience you have with conducting activities with BJA funds, so the more information you provide, the better. The quantitative data you report is used to establish baselines, track performance against program goals, and create a nationwide picture of numeric data for BJA. Narrative questions are open-ended and give grantees a chance to express in their own words how their experience has been conducting program activities with BJA funding. Both of these categories are equally important for your reporting, and you should take every possible measure to ensure the accuracy and integrity of your data. Next, we'll go over the specific types of reports that are generated in the PMT. As you may know, the PMT collects data for a 3-month period of activity referred to as a reporting period. You'll have 30 days after the close of the reporting period to enter data into the PMT. After you complete your data entry, you'll be prompted by the system to create a report of this information. Every 6 months, grantees are required to upload a semi-annual report into GMS, which is also generated from the PMT. The semi-annual report is uploaded as an attachment to your progress report in GMS, and it's due once in January and once in July. This report contains the narrative questions that we talked about on the previous slide. Closeout or final reports should only be completed once all grant funding has been expended and uploaded to GMS. If you need assistance in uploading a report to GMS, please contact the GMS Helpdesk. As a reminder, All of these reports are always available in the PMT for you to create and save as many times as needed. You should also keep in mind that BJA reviews grantees' report status and data every quarter to ensure validity and compliance with reporting requirements. So it's vital to fulfill every reporting requirement your agency has in accordance with your grant. This is the reporting schedule that details the time frame for each reporting period, the type of data required, and the due dates for submitting it in the PMT and GMS. You'll enter program performance measures every quarter and enter the narrative section twice a year during the April through June and October through December reporting periods. This table can be found in the PMT on the Information and Resources page as well. As a reminder, the PMT is accessible year-round for data review, report generation, account creation, and more, but data entry is only scheduled for the month following the close of a reporting period based on the scheduled PMT due date. If you need to edit any data outside of the scheduled due dates, you'll need to contact the PMT Helpdesk. Here's our first poll. Please respond to the following polling questions on the right side of your screen. Number 1, how many days after the close of a reporting period is your PMT report due? A, 7 days, B, 15 days, C, 30 days, or D, 45 days. Question 2, what are the 3 occasions you report into the PMT? A, quarterly, B, semi-annually, C, at the close of your award, or D, all of the above. Please choose the answer that you think fits best for each of the questions. Good. Now moving on to the functions of the performance measurement tool. So what exactly is the PMT? The performance measurement tool is the online data collection tool for the Office of Justice Programs grant recipients. It's structured as an online questionnaire and is available year-round. The PMT contains lots of information and tools to assist you in your reporting, so let's take a look. Here are the sections we'll be covering for the rest of the presentation, which range from creating a profile to creating a report. As a reminder, if you have any questions related to today's training, the BJA PMT Helpdesk's contact information will be listed at the end of the presentation, from which you can receive the most accurate and up-to-date guidance on all things PMT. To access the performance measurement tool, visit the PMT single sign-on on the page listed there. It's https://ojpsso.ojp.gov. The single sign-on page allows multiple OJP grant recipients to access all their awards using one username and password. So for example, if your organization receives funding from both BJA and the Office of Victims of Crime, you can log in with one username and password and access both of these PMT applications. As a note, you must be a BJA grantee or subrecipient to set up a username and password, and all individual users must have their own unique username and passwords. Once your unique account is created, enter your registered email address as your username along with your password to log in. We recommend using Google Chrome as your default browser for PMT access. Here's an example of the email that new users will receive when their account is created. To set up a new user account, click on the link in the email. The password you create is based on OJP security requirements and is similar to the policy used by other DOJ sites, such as GPRS and GMS. Passwords must be at least 12 characters and contain at least one uppercase letter, one lowercase letter, one number, and one special character. If you request to have your password reset, you'll not be able to use the same password that you used within the last 24 password change requests. Please note that if you do not receive an automated email from the PMT within several minutes, you should check your junk mail or contact your organization's IT department to ensure there are no firewalls preventing the email from being delivered. Here you can update or change your account and password by clicking on the corresponding links. Once all account information is up to date, select BJA PMT to continue. The first profile page of the PMT displays the various awards your organization receives from a particular OJP program. If your organization receives funds from various sources within BJA, you'll have access to multiple profiles. The picture on the slide depicts an organization who receives funding directly from BJA, making them a grantee, and who also receives funding from another state agency, making them a subgrantee. To continue to enter or edit data, select the grantee or subgrantee profile you want to report on by clicking on the plus sign and then your organization's name. As a note, you will not see this page if you only have one PMT profile or award, but will instead be brought right into the performance measurement tool. If you're logging into the PMT for the first time, the system will direct you to the profile page. This information comes from GMS. If any of it is incorrect, please be sure to log into GMS and submit a Grants Adjustment Notice, also known as a GAN, to update the contact information in that system. Make sure you also inform the PMT Helpdesk along with your BJA grant manager of any necessary changes. Having accurate contact information listed in the PMT is extremely important so that you'll receive email updates, reminders, notices, and other necessary user materials. If others within your organization also need access to enter or edit data, go to the Manage User page to add them. Only add users who need access to the BJA PMT to complete data entry and reporting. Adding a user automatically sends that person an email with a link to create and complete a user account. If you're a returning user, you'll be directed to the Information and Resources page upon logging in. This page gives you access to important documents regarding the grant program, such as this user guide, the frequently asked questions, a copy of the performance measures, and any updates. Keep in mind you can access the profile and the Information and Resources pages at any time while logged into the PMT. As you work within the PMT, be sure to save often, as the PMT will time users out after 30 minutes of inactivity. Any data not saved will be erased. Additionally, users should also be sure not to use the back or forward buttons on their web browser, as that will produce system errors. They should instead use the buttons within the PMT to navigate within the system. Reporting in the PMT is based on grant activity funded or supported by a federal award number. If you have multiple BJA grants or awards that are active at the same time, it's recommended and preferred that you close out one grant before the other one becomes operational. If there's any overlap between multiple awards, when they're both active and supporting the same services and activities, your data should be prorated based on the percentage of grant funding from each grant. Please do not duplicate data reporting. To begin the data entry process, go to the Federal Awards page. Its purpose is to give an overview of data entry for all awards. If you have any questions about the PMT's Helpdesk toll-free number and email address are at the bottom of every page of the system. Click the red Begin Reporting Process button next to the reporting period you want to begin entering data for. Before we get into the specifics of PMT data entry, it's important to understand the different statuses on the Federal Awards page so you're aware of where you are in the reporting process. If a grantee has not opened their report or saved any data, the PMT will mark your report as not started. If a grantee has opened the report and begun data entry but hasn't completed it, the PMT will mark the report as in progress. If a grantee has entered, saved, and completed every question in the report, the PMT will mark the record as complete. Not operational applies to the grantees that indicated there was not grant-funded activity and no funds were expended during the 3-month reporting period. If a report is marked as not operational, the grantee will not need to answer performance measurement questions. Grantees who have subrecipients will be affected by their subrecipients' report status as well. For example, if a grantee has completed their portion of the PMT, but their subrecipient is still in progress, the overall status of the report shown on the grantee's federal awards page will say in progress. Thus, it's important to encourage all grant recipients, both at the grantee and subrecipient level, to complete their report in a timely fashion. If you do not have any subrecipients, you can proceed with data entry as usual. Once you click Begin Reporting Process on the Federal Awards page, you'll be brought to the Award Administration page. The purpose of this page is to inform BJA about how you're administering your funds. On this page, grantees can indicate whether they use the funds all themselves, whether their subrecipients use some funds, or whether their funds are split between the grantee organization and subgrantee. In addition, the PMT will also ask whether this is the last reporting of data you have to report. Select No to create a quarterly report, and select Yes to create a final PMT report. The final report is the last report you'll generate in the PMT, so grantees should only create a final report if all funds have been expended prior to the last day of the reporting period. Otherwise, select No to proceed with your quarterly report. Next, you'll be brought to the Grant Activity page. The first question asked every quarter or reporting period is whether there was grant activity during the reporting period. If you answer yes, you'll be prompted to answer the performance measures. If you indicated there was not grant activity, you'll not be prompted to answer the program performance measures, but you'll need to explain why no activity occurred instead. If there was no grant activity, your data entry status will show as not operational. As mentioned, not operational is considered complete, but it means that no funds were spent and/or no activity occurred during your grant solicitation parameters. Now it's a good time to mention that not all grantee reports will appear in the way shown on the slide, as this is just an example. But the data entry process is largely the same across the platform. To continue, press Save and Continue. By indicating there was program activity during the reporting period, the PMT will then generate the program questionnaire. This screenshot is an example of what the tabs may look like once your program is operational. The tabs you will see will vary depending on the program you're working on. Here, you'll input responses to each of the measures or questions. You must enter data in all fields for all required questions to move forward. If a question doesn't apply to your program activities and you're not able to skip it, or you're unable to provide a value, you may enter 0 to show that the question is not applicable to you during the reporting period. However, you must explain all 0 values. The option to add comments is provided at the end of your report and is available for every quarterly report. You can also use the comment section to explain any part of your report that may require further explanation. Now we're going to talk briefly about the semi-annual narrative questions. The narrative section consists of several questions which you can elaborate on your program for the reporting period. When entering data for the April through June and October through December reporting periods, regardless of your grant activity, you're required to answer the narrative questions asked of all BJA grantees. The questions are based on the previous 6 months of activity for which you're providing performance data. You're required to answer the questions regardless of whether or not your award was considered operational. You may enter up to 5,000 characters for each response. On this page, you should remember not to enter NA or not applicable for these questions. We have found that grantees usually have their reports returned to them for editing from their grant managers if they ignore these questions. We advise you to enter 2 or 3 sentences for each question. If you're closing out the award and this is the last reporting period data, your response should reflect activity since your last GMS report or your last submission of the narrative data in the PMT. If you've completed all data entry for the reporting period and have reviewed your data, you're ready to remark your report as complete. To do so, check the Mark Data as Complete box at the top of the page. Once you check the box, your data will be locked, and you'll not be able to make edits without contacting the PMT Helpdesk. Please be sure that your data entry is final and accurate before checking the Mark Data as Complete box. If you need to make changes to a locked report, contact the PMT Helpdesk to request that it be unlocked. Congratulations! You successfully completed your data entry and are ready to generate your report. After you selected the Mark Data as Complete button and saved your report, you'll be asked if you want to create a GMS report. As a reminder, the example shown on this slide is for training purposes only. What you see when you create your GMS report may look different. However, the steps to create your report are the same. After you select Create a GMS Report, a new window will appear with your report on the page. Select the red. Bear with us for one moment while we try to address some sound issues that some of us are having. Step 8. Upload your report into the GMS. After you've saved the GMS report to your computer, return to the Federal Awards page to view the data entry and report status. They should appear as completed and created. This is your confirmation that data entry is complete in the PMT for the quarter. Log out of the PMT and prepare for the next round of performance measures, data collection, and reporting. Please check your award special conditions and/or check with your state policy advisor or grant manager to determine if you have any other reporting requirements. In January, July, and at the close of your award, upload your report and any other progress reports into the GMS. Now that we've gone over the reporting process, let's go over some frequently asked questions. I will now go over a few frequently asked questions and helpful hints. If you get an error message, follow the prompt to correct any errors or discrepancies. Then click on the Federal Awards page and review the data entry status and report status columns to make sure you've completed data entry. To edit your submitted data, please contact the Help Desk to request that the report be unlocked. Please remember the PMT will time out after 30 minutes of inactivity. To avoid re-entering data, click on the Save button before leaving the system or when you're finished entering data. It's crucial for PMT users to make sure the profile page has correct and complete contact information. Please update your contact information in the grants management system first, and then contact the BJA PMT Helpdesk to request the changes are made in the PMT. To view all of your reporting periods, click on that button on the Federal Awards page to see all the reports available for your grant. If your organization recently received an award from BJA and it doesn't appear in the organization's PMT profile, check GMS to ensure that your organization has accepted the award. After confirming, contact the Help Desk to ask that the award be uploaded into the PMT. Please note that we will not be uploading new awards until the later half of December. So if you are a brand new BJA awardee and you're listening now for January reporting, you won't see your profile in the system until the end of December. Red buttons are used as indicators that actions required on that page. Selecting red buttons throughout the page will complete the task at hand or take you to the next step. On the data entry page, each underlined measure and question has a link to more information. Click on those links throughout for definitions and instructions. GMS report creation error. Make sure that previous reports have a data entry status of complete and the report status of created. If an error persists, please contact the PMT Help Desk. We have been experiencing some report errors lately for final reports. If this does happen, please work with your grant manager to submit GMS reports from previous periods to satisfy your reporting requirements. No grant activity. If your organization didn't conduct any grant activity during a given period, you must still submit a PMT report. When prompted, answer no to was there grant activity during the reporting period. And now we have our final poll. Please respond to the following polling questions on the right side of your screen. Question 1, what does a complete report status mean? A, grantee has not saved any data. B, grantee has begun entering data but has not completed the data entry process. C, grantee indicated that no activity occurred and no funds were expended during the reporting period. Or D, grantee has entered and saved data, completing the data entry process. Question 2, how long before the PMT times out from inactivity? A, 10 minutes. B, 30 minutes. C, 1 hour. D, it doesn't. Go ahead and select the answer you think is best. Thank you for answering. The correct answers are D and B. Here's the BJA PMT Helpdesk contact information. Our office hours are Monday through Friday, 8:30 through 5 p.m. Eastern Time, except U.S. federal holidays. We strive to return emails and phone calls within 24 hours, so please don't hesitate to leave a voicemail or email even after business hours. We'll leave this webinar open for about 5 to 10 minutes, so you can download any handouts attached or use the Q&A box if you have any questions. A recording of today's training and other user materials and resources will be posted online. On behalf of BJA and the Performance Management Project Team, thank you for your time, dedication, and hard work. This concludes our presentation.